All right, let's see. All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me make sure. All right, y'all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's get busy. All right, let's get busy. All right, we got a good show tonight. Welcome. I am the doctor, Ken Canion, aka Coach Ken Canion. Listen, I got a good one going tonight. Let me turn on my comments because y'all might have some questions for my guest. Hey, what's up, Monique? Good to see you. Hey, Sonia, how you doing? Because my guest coming up, she's super smart. All right, so y'all know I only hang around smart people. Hey, Shanika, how are you? All right, hey, Joe, how's it going from you too? All right, y'all, we're gonna give it a couple of minutes, and we're going to make this work. And all right, all right, put the kids to bed. All right, put the kids to bed. Hello. Now, when it just comes up Facebook user, when it comes up just Facebook user, I know that's coming from my group, so I have to go in and I gotta, so I can get comments from my group. So let's do that. All right, all right. Here we go. Here we go. All right. Hey, hey, hey. This is my group. Okay. Hey, Don. How are you? Carletta, how are you? I can see it from my group now. I can see y'all. If I don't say your name, that's because I didn't see you. But anyway, we're going to get started here. I hope everybody's having a great day. Listen, hey, Deborah, how are you? You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with the doctor tonight. And tonight, we're going to set some people free. Because how many times have you wanted to say something, you know, and you wanted to say it was on the tip of your tongue, but you did not say it for whatever reason, and you just held it in. You suppressed it. And later on, and it just kept coming up. And then the more you didn't say it, the more it became a trend. The more it became a part of you not to speak. How many of you out there, there have been people you wanted to communicate a message to, but you just either didn't have the courage, you didn't have the knowledge, the know-how of how to do it, or you just never raised her hand like me, or you just didn't move for whatever reason. But do you know let me get my mic. There's actually something that happens to you when you don't do it. And before tonight is over, I'm going to tell you what happens to you, but my guest is going to tell you how to do it, how to actually say it, and how to not feel guilty about saying it, and give you techniques on how to say it. I've seen her videos, and y'all know I try to bring you great content um, from other people. I don't want you just to hear my voice because as much as I love talking to you, there are other smart voices out there. There are other people out there who have a voice and who are extremely intelligent. And a lot of times, yeah, we need a different voice and we need someone else. So look, the doctor's gonna bring it to you. Without further ado, I see her backstage. So allow me to read her bio. Y'all know I'm not good with like a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo on the bio, but her bio got like a lot of technical stuff on it. Here we go. I just want to make sure I spell it's Talia. It's Talia Bombula. I think that's it. Well, I don't know. She'll tell you when she get on. She's the confidence and assertiveness specialist. She is a psychodynamic LMFT Jernigan life coach. She is the CEO, owner, founder of Newport Counseling Center for Individual Couples and Family Therapy and Coaching. She holds a master's degree in clinical psychology. That means that she's extremely smart, y'all. Okay. She is, it also says, with an emphasis on marriage and family therapy. Talia is certified psychodynamic psychotherapist. That's that alone is good enough for me. All right, listen, y'all. I just want you to welcome. Is it Talia or Talia? Anyway, y'all welcome her to the show. Hey
Hello,
there, how are
everyone.
you? Hey, listen. I might butcher some names and stuff. It's all great intentions. Tell us, pronounce your name correctly.
So my name is Talia Bombolla.
Talia Bombola.
Yes, Bombolla.
Okay. Listen, I actually saw some of your lives before as we talked before, and I was just enamored by the way that you kind of just deliver content. And I've had people on the show who are kind of different in a good way, different in a good way, you know. And what you talk about is very important to the audience that I have. And I wanted to talk about it because I saw one of your videos and you were talking about communicating some things like the hard stuff. Like, sometimes we just keep it in, right? And have you found that people just keep it in a lot of times? They want to say it, they don't know how to say it, and even if you train them on how to say it, they don't have the courage to do so.
Yes, I would say I see that quite often, and it either stems from a belief that the other person won't hear them and won't take it kindly if they do assert themselves or their needs, or like you said, they don't know how to word it, and the kind of jumbling of I want or need this with how do I ask for it, it gets lost in the crosshairs, and then it doesn't come out right, and then this belief comes up of, well, nobody ever listens anyway, or this is just not that important. So I'll just be quiet and get resentful over many years instead of asking for what I want and need.
Okay, all right, that's fair. So tell everybody about you and your journey. How'd you get here? How'd you, and tell me, and why'd you decide to do this work?
To dedicate my life to helping others. Yeah, it's a
Yes,
unique job. I think no one becomes a therapist by accident. There's too many
no,
hours that go into training for it to be an accident. And what led me here is actually having a really positive experience with my own therapist many years ago. And I don't think I would be who I am without her and her influence on my life and how much she changed the way that I view the world. And that's what I strive to help others do, is kind of view their world differently and view their life and relationships in a more positive light. So my own journey started with my own therapy many years ago, and then a lot of school, so many years of school and hours of training and reading and podcasts and books to sharpen my knowledge and be able to deliver that to other people consistently and on a daily basis.
okay. All right, so let's jump right into the hard shit. I
Yes,
mean,
let's do it.
I'm not like, so you got somebody, I've got clients, some females that I know, matter of fact, particular, one in particular. She wants to speak her truth about how she feels about, guy not calling, returning text in a timely manner. This is a practical issue.
Yeah.
But she's been taught her whole life, she has been a person who withheld information. She just never
Mm,
spoken the truth. And so she's developed this whole image that I'm going to either, all right, you don't give me what I want, instead of communicating what I want, I'm just out. I'm cutting you out, I'm blocking you, whatever.
ah.
All right, I'm going to give you something hard from the jump. All right, what do you tell a person like that? What would you tell them to do? How would you handle that?
I, with the training that I have, we like to go to the deep source, like childhood and adolescent experiences first,
Sure.
before I would give any functional advice. But I'm happy to do kind of both tonight. I would ask what her family of origin was like. What were some of the communication patterns she witnessed growing up, or maybe didn't witness at all? Were things really close to the chest in her family? And anytime somebody asked for something, a need wasn't met or communication was closed off, because at that point, we're really just repeating what we saw growing up, which isn't always the healthiest thing to do.
Sure.
And I would
Sure.
also, if let's say it was like her response being, yeah, that is kind of what happened. And I'm really afraid. This is what women typically go to. There's a hard shell and exterior, and there's not a desire to be vulnerable and share how this would really make us feel because we don't want to be hurt. And it's easier to wall up and show up in a more masculine energy, more of like a doing, unemotional, this doesn't bother me. If you don't give me what I need, not only am I not going to give you a chance to do it, I'm just going to cut you off completely. And it perpetuates this narrative that nobody's ever going to meet my needs or be good enough for me. And that might be a feeling she's had for quite some time. And that would be like from the jump, from an overview, that would be some of my best advice or feedback.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So you said masculine energy. So when they jump
Yes.
into this masculine energy, I talk a lot about masculine and feminine energy, but have you found that people cope better when they get into the masculine side of it, the masculine energy side of doing things like that? I'm going to do this. I'm going to cut off. I'm going to I'm going to assert myself, if you will.
I honestly don't think it's healthy to continue that pattern. I think for some, it's a survival mechanism that they go into it. So, in the short term, it's healthy or protective for them. But truly being vulnerable and stepping into like a healthy masculine energy rather than a wounded masculine or a wounded feminine would be calmly and gently asserting, I don't know if you know this, and it may not make a difference, but it does make me feel not prioritized, and it makes me feel like a second thought when we don't communicate as often as I would like. I would love the opportunity to get to know you more, and in order to do that, this is the way that I prefer to be communicated with, and deliver it to the person and see what they do with it. That is a healthier, more self loving, balanced masculine and feminine, right? It says, here's what I like to do, but here's some vulnerability if it doesn't get done. And then not taking it personally if that other person chooses not to give you what you want or need. My kind of go to is to say thank you to them because they've shown you early enough that you don't have to get too attached. But that immediate cutoff usually shows a sign of previous wounding or previous patterns where that has been the case. They've asked for something, it hasn't happened, so they feel shut down to ever ask for it again.
Hey, Valerie says, wow, I love that response. Me too, Valerie. That's why I was over here laughing because I am doing a new a new program, a communication program for women. It's called it's called Don't Say That Shit. That's what it's called. No, I'm serious. It's called Don't Say That Shit. And then what I say is choosing the right words to attract the right guy. And what it is it's kind of cool because when you said that, Valerie is one of my students, and we talk about responses. And
Yeah.
she says that's why I started smiling. Like that was dope. She was like, I don't know if you know this.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. And so that being said, let's talk about responses. Okay.
Yes.
Um, how do you teach your people to respond when there's something that they want to say? Do you have a formula that you go by that you got a person who never has responded before?
Mhm.
They just submerge all of the information, all of the feelings, but it's healthier for them to communicate what they're saying. How do you craft that
Response.
whole formula of saying what it is they need to say?
Yeah. So this is kind of a three-part system behind the scenes for it to come out as eloquently. One part of it is having your healthy self-worth and self-esteem at the forefront. So you want to make sure you're leading with self-respect, which also extends respect to other people, whether or not you're happy with how they're treating you or you are not getting the desired response, that you have to lead with a healthy self-worth and self-respect. The second part of that is understanding that men and women are not the same people. We don't respond to the same stimulus or punishment, so to speak. So we want to make sure we're knowing our audience and who we're talking to. And then the third part about that is communicating to incentivize the person to meet your want or need rather than communicating with them to only explain what's going to happen if they don't. So it's basically giving permissions versus injunctions, as they're called in psychology.
So yeah, okay. So let's go a little bit deeper on the incentivizing it.
Yes.
So how would you say, okay, I've got a person who is not, my sexual needs aren't being met. I
Yeah.
just will go with a real
Sure.
situation. Sexual needs aren't being met, and I want to use your formula to tell the guy that, hey, you ain't getting it done,
Yeah.
brother. All right. So, so okay. All right.
Yes.
Go. Well, you're gonna talk to me, and you're
So
gonna tell me, Ken, you're
am
not
I
getting it.
am I the guy in this case or am I the woman in this case
Now you're
explaining
the
it to
woman to me. I'm the guy who's not satisfying your
you?
needs.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
give it to me. I'm already on the defensive.
You're already defensive? Okay.
Yeah.
Then I would be sitting next to you, but not making direct eye contact. That's a key part of it as well, because that can be really confrontational for men.
Right.
The only
Okay.
time men are really face to face is with an adversary. That's why sports teams are lined up the way that they are, because it's only really with an enemy. So when we want direct eye contact, that can be really flooding to our male counterpart. So I would sit gently or have my head in your lap and have be more like a neutral stance. And I
Okay.
would share, honey, babe, whatever our pet name is, very normally, something I want to share with you about my experience in our relationship is, and then list the wonderful things that are going well and what I like that you are currently doing and how it makes me feel, because women are feelings based creatures, men are
Okay.
more opinion based creatures. So I would
Okay.
share, I love these things. They make me feel so connected to you. They make me desire you. They turn me on. And what would turn me on even more is if you could, and then fill in the blank with whatever I'm wanting. What do you need from me? So then I join with you and I invite you to share and I interact with you as if you will automatically be a yes. But many women go in assuming you won't be a yes, or assuming that you're going to take offense, understandably, to it, not realizing it's how it's being worded that is causing you to take offense to it, right? Well, you don't do this as good as so and so did, or you never do this. Is that going to get the job done? No. If I were complained at like that, that's the quickest, surefire way to make sure it's never going to get done moving forward. So you have to incentivize. I love all these things, and this would make it a 10 out of 10 for me.
What she's done, Valerie says, where can we follow her? You're gonna find out. I'm gonna give you all her information. What you did is what I used to tell managers to do. Use and instead of but,
Mhm.
because when you use and, when you use but, everything you said before that was a lie. You use
Correct.
the sandwich approach. Sandwich approach. I say something good. I
Mhm.
say something great to you. Something
Mhm.
that I love. And then and is just something to make it better. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that idea of doing that, and then I love the whole idea of leaning into it, and that is so cool. Okay, she took a hard thing. Listen, if you have a question tonight for Talia, if you have a question tonight, what I want you to do, if you want to come on the show, hey, you're welcome to come on. I will give you the link. Matter of fact, allow me to put the link into the comment section. So if you want to ask her a question, look, I'm like, do it. Oh, maybe I need to get the link. All right, so let me grab this link. All right, boom. And if anybody wants to come on, you got a question, you want to ask her, because she's super good. I told you she was good. I was like listening to her stuff. All right, boom. All right, I put it in. If you want to come backstage, you want to ask her a question, that's cool. All right, Talia, so I have a question.
Mhm.
So, in your therapy practice, when couples come in, do you deal mostly with people who are wanting to be in relationships, or people who are couples, they're already a couple? What's mostly what you deal with?
For the majority, when I see couples, like two people in the room, they're already in a relationship, whether it's very serious dating, engaged all the way to being married many years. And then when I work with my individual clients, they're either in a relationship with somebody who's not in the room with us, but we talk about them quite often, or they're single, being intentional about who they want to partner with to find a relationship. So I work with people at pretty much every stage.
Okay, so mostly men or women, or both, or it's about equal?
Mostly, I would say it's 50-50 with men and women individually. And then with couples, I typically work with heterosexual couples, but I've worked with couples who are in ethical non-monogamous relationships, exploring polyamory. They're a dyadic relationship, trying to add. I've seen it all, and I usually go with like that core piece of where does this stem from in your childhood that you want to
Right.
open up?
Oh, of course, always. We always
Yeah.
do. And I not too long ago learned about ethical monogamy.
Yes.
I didn't know that was the thing until, I'm always researching, always expanding my knowledge. And when I was taught that, I was like, wow, that's a thing. All right. But again, it's as a coach, it's helping me to expand my world and dealing with, more people. So, all right, when let's say you come across someone who is in a verbally abusive
Mm,
relationship. They love the person. They love, and a lot of times it might be a female. She loves the guy. Sometimes he's just the greatest guy in the world. He takes me, he loves me. But then he becomes verbally abusive when things don't quite go as he plans.
mm-hmm.
When she comes to you and she's all out of sorts because she doesn't know what's going on, what do you do? How do you approach that situation? Now, the guy that want to come, he feels like nothing's wrong. The
Of
problem
course.
is with you. All right. How do you handle that?
If the woman is coming in individually, I
Yeah.
start with a health and safety plan to make sure that she's not at risk and her life is not at risk. If that is the case, that's an entirely different session and line of thinking to go down. But if it's more this pattern has fallen upon them and there isn't a genuine concern for her safety or her life, and they just really do need to focus on communication differences, I support her in exploring her how this makes her feel because again, we are feelings-based creatures. I can better understand what this response is for her if it ever goes both ways. Typically when men are more of the perpetrators or initiators of this kind of communication, it's a learned behavior and it's something they're perpetuating and passing down. Whereas if women are like this, it's not the case that we didn't learn this also, but usually we are put in a position where we're pushed to this, or it's a more of a defensive response. Not everyone that I've worked with who is a woman who's yelling or having communication problems started out that way. Some do because it's family stuff, and some don't. They feel like I've turned into somebody I don't even recognize. So I like to make sure that they are safe and that this is a relationship that they think it's worth salvaging or worth working through. And then we work on more confidence and assertiveness skills to soften but still be vulnerable with boundaries. And if the partner they're with continues to bulldoze them, then we would make more moves to them ending up leaving the relationship because the self-respect being degraded day after day is going to wear on them eventually, and long term
Absolutely.
that's not going to be good for them. If they're trying to date other people who don't have that communication pattern, that PTSD can still linger. So I try to encourage them as best I can. I can't tell them what to do or not do, but I share with them, based on what I know about you and your goals and your life, this partnership doesn't seem like it supports that. Is this something you could really see continuing if nothing ever changed? And that question usually helps them to make a different decision.
Okay. Um, got a question from Angel. What if you want an answer after communicating your feelings and the person asks for space to respond? Do you allow that space? Is space a real thing, especially if the emotions are heightened?
Yes. Okay. So I'm happy to answer this question. It's actually a very common pattern that comes up with couples and with individuals, even. Yes, space is real. It is a real thing. People need decompression time or transition time, as it's been called. Yes, you allow the space, and what's happening that inside of you that makes you want to finish the conversation is that essentially your fight or flight response system in the back part of your brain that says there's a threat and we need to extinguish it. You're not on the same pattern that your partner is. So where they may be in their flight response, they need space, they need time to calm down and understand what you've said. You're still in fight. That doesn't mean physical or verbal. That could mean like I want to engage and connect. And so you have opposing needs in that moment. The more you practice the pattern of them taking a specific amount of time of space and coming back to having the conversation when both of you have a calm nervous system, the pattern eventually becomes that you don't need as much time or space and you don't get as activated. The emotional heights that you reach are much lower. So it's like a blip rather than like a huge skyscraper. So yes, definitely give your partner space, because if you keep pursuing them, they're going to shut down more and more, and the time they need away from you is going to increase and increase, causing the opposite problem of what you want. You want them to come be with you and comfort you. They're not going to be able to do that if they're activated and flooded. So you have to give them space to calm down.
I love the whole idea that we're not on the same plane at the same time. They
Yeah.
might be in their flight mode, whereas I'm in fight. And I know what you mean by fight. You mean engaging.
Connect. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. And so giving them the time. Now, so here's my question for you. Um, how much time, from your perspective as a therapist, because
Yes.
people come to me with that as well. How much time is appropriate? One, if it's been 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and sometimes you get into the other person avoidance. They
Mm-hmm.
don't want to deal with the issue, and so
Mm-hmm.
that's what a lot of people are asking in
Right.
that case.
So in the micro event, the actual conflict or heightened emotional conversation, physiologically, the body as a human system needs a minimum of 20 minutes to return to homeostasis. And that's going and taking a walk, progressive muscle relaxation, some breathing exercises. Like we push pause, and the timer of at least 20 minutes starts. And that may take maybe 30 minutes to an hour, but at a minimum 20 minutes. And if you tell your partner that, you must come back at the agreed upon time, even if it's to tell them you need more time. But you have to build trust in that pattern. And in the macro scale, if we're wanting information from a partner and they don't have the answer right away, this is very typical with men and women. We can answer multiple questions at once with multiple lines of thinking going on at once. Men need time to process because you do base your life on opinions, and we want quality opinions and quality shares. We
Sure.
might need to wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks for an answer for something that we've asked of you, right? What's your thought on this? How do you feel about this? If you want to know what a man is going to do, ask him what his opinion is on something. And it's our role as the female counterpart to be patient and understand they don't have as rapid fire as we do, unless it's something we've already been talking about on an ongoing basis. And you want to wait for, well, I was thinking about what you said the other day, but we get so pressured and we don't want to wait. We want what we want when we want it.
Oh, absolutely.
So learning to be more patient and understanding, and you'll see the timeline collapse as to when your partner can meet that need and share that information.
And what I've noticed that happens is people get impatient and they feel like the other person is avoiding the
Correct.
conversation, and they push and they push and they push, and then what happens is the exact opposite of what they desire.
Correct.
Then it becomes confrontation instead of collaboration and us communicating. So
Yes.
I've seen that like a million times. All right. So tell me your hardest case ever. Like, you know, obviously, the hardest case you had to deal with.
I mean, due to like ethical constraints and legal constraints, I can't get
Right,
too
right,
in.
I understand.
But I would say pattern wise, like the most common pattern I see
Sure.
is heightened resentment which is basically not getting your needs met and feeling bitter, or that you're being treated unfairly. That's kind of the literal definition of resentment. There's a pattern of that because of so many unspoken wants and needs that couples will come in after being together 5 to 10 years and look across at their partner and essentially not be able to recognize them or feel love towards them because there's such a pileup of, you never did this, you always did this. And once we uncover a lot of the complaints and the masked, asks of, well, I tried this once and they gave me this response, so I learned to never ask for it again, rather than I chalked it up to them having a bad day and didn't take it personally, and then was brave enough to ask again the next week. So I would say the most common pattern I see is a lot of hurt and resentment that hasn't been voiced. And that's usually based on not knowing how to properly communicate when a need or a want goes unmet, which the best formula for that is, when I experienced, and then the actual behavior, not the person, not a blame. It's the actual, when I experienced not getting a text, when I experienced the dishes not being done, when I experienced you missing the kids' pickup time, or like the kids' pickup time being missed, whatever it might be, I felt an actual emotion word, not like I felt like you were an asshole, because that's not a feeling. That is a feeling that's being masked by you trying to be vindictive. I felt abandoned. I felt missed. I felt disconnected. I felt hurt. I felt unappreciated, right? Go to the core. You're not blaming. And the story I made up in my head was, our marriage is going to become our parents' marriage. You're going to leave me. somebody else is catching your eye more than I am. I'll never be good enough for you. Like, go to the core vulnerability. That prevents resentment, because even if your partner can't see how you got there, meaning they don't like necessarily agree, they can align with, that had to be so scary that you felt that way and thought that. I'm so sorry that happened. How can I help? Right now we have a mutual narrative that we can align on versus this blaming. Well, you never did this. Well, you always do this. That's just scorekeeping. That's not going to lead to winning in a relationship.
I love that. I love. Hey Valerie, that was pretty good, wasn't it? I like what I wrote this down. She said, "When I experience." I like that. That is a good one.
Yeah.
So let as a therapist, as a coach, one of the Valerie said definitely.
Thank
Um,
you.
one of the things that I deal with a lot of times is infidelity.
Mm,
When the person has broken the trust, um, for whatever reason,
mm-hmm.
um, how do you, from your perspective, approach that? Um, they want to bring it back together, but the partner, be it man or woman, because I've had it on both sides,
Yeah.
be it man or woman, cannot, they have a narrative that they keep telling themselves. The
Right.
story, it's the story. The
Yeah.
stories which create the images. Um, so how do you approach that when you're talking about them communicating with each other for restoration?
So when they come in, they have to be on the same page, at least about, let's get to a decision point of whether or not the relationship can continue. Like, they both want it to, but I want them to gather all the data necessary before they just jump right back into it or immediately decide, no, it's completely over. Like, we just have to have a little bit of wiggle room. And typically, especially clinically, we recommend that the affair or affairs be over with and be cut off before trying to start treatment. Otherwise, I'm battling a third that isn't even in the room that I don't know about. And that's going to cause any work that we do to bring the dyadic couple back together to rupture, because this person is having that kind of relationship with somebody outside. So I meet with them together to get an idea of what the goals are. And then I meet with them individually, and whomever the person is who's had the affair or affairs, I have a way about me with I white level with them, and I'm like, look, I'm not going to waste your time. I'm not going to waste your money. If this isn't over with, either you go in and tell your partner that you're not going to do this treatment, or you go end it today and we meet next week. And then I leave it at that. And if I see them next week, I know that that's over with. And if they end up telling their partner, look, I don't really want to commit to this, I know that they're not willing to get rid of the affair or whatever is the extra in their relationship. And that does happen. Not everybody wants to end what makes them feel
Oh,
alive again.
absolutely.
I think getting to the
Especially if
yeah.
they've been doing it a while.
Oh
Especially,
yes, it's become a part of their life and more of a habit and a regular occurrence. Just like
sure.
any habit or behavior choice, it's going to take time and intention to end it. And that's the key, is understanding, why did it occur in the first place? What were the factors that were present or not present in the relationship that created this space or desire for the partner who had the affair to do so, and approaching it with curiosity instead of the understandable and individual work, anger, blame, resentment. That's all allowed, but directing it at your partner in such a visceral way isn't actually going to accomplish what you think. And this goes back to, men and women respond differently to punishment. Women, we we respond very well to punishment. We never want to be in the out group socially. So if somebody doesn't like us, it feels like the end of the world. If somebody doesn't show interest in us, it feels like the end of the world. It doesn't mean it's the case for men, but we often punish you as a way to get you to do something, right? Well, if you don't
Yeah,
take out the trash, no sex for you. That's not going to get the person to take out the trash at all.
right.
It's learning how to ask. And so it all, I think, links back to, the more you can authentically show up in your relationship and ask for your wants and needs to be met graciously and be appreciative, not only the more likely they are to be met, the more likely you are both to enjoy the relationship, because it's positive and strength based, not doing something to avoid something from happening. Nobody's motivated to get to zero. I don't want to do
Sure.
something to avoid being yelled at. I want to do something because I will feel appreciated and I might get more sex out of it. Wonderful. I'll be happy to take out the trash. Please just tell me when you need me to do it. I will do it. And now we have a positive feedback loop in place.
Cool. I'm in my program, and I think you'll be good for this. I just had an idea.
Cool.
So in my program, I'm doing this section, and I'm starting the recording. all of that soon. We're working through all of that, my team. But I came up with this idea to do this section called um, "What He Said, What She Heard."
Ah,
Okay,
yes. Yes.
what he said, what she heard.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes back to what you were saying. Men are opinions, women
Hmm.
are emotions. And I've said that before. But I got an idea for you. And I'm going to hit you with it back behind the scenes because
Okay.
I'd like to do something like that with you. Because a lot of what I hear as a coach is like people will say something, and I will say, "Well, what did you hear? What did you hear?" Okay, and then or they'll send me a text, and I say, "Well, what did you hear?" I said because
Hmm.
what you heard was the voice in your head. It
Correct.
was your voice, your head that received this message, and
Yep.
you attached the meaning to it. All
Correct.
right. And I always tell people it's all about a meaning. What meaning do you attach to whatever you heard, whatever you
Yes.
saw, whatever? So when you get people who are on different planes, maybe somebody said something and they heard something different than what it was, how do you navigate that? How do you navigate that?
Yeah.
You
This is
as a therapist.
this is where that main pillar, that self-worth and self-esteem are crucial because, and the science supports this as well, the way that you talk to yourself internally is not only the way that you talk to others. So you can kind of see somebody's inner world based on how they treat themselves out loud when they make a mistake. Do they call themselves an effing idiot? Or do they
Right.
go, whoops, messed up there? Right? Like what level of positive to negative self-talk are they on? That will also dictate their own view of themselves. And if we have a low view of ourselves, but a high view of other people, we typically have what's called an attachment lens, like language. We have an anxious attachment because I'm not good enough, but my partner is so amazing and I don't want them to leave me. So I'll just see them as better than they are oftentimes. Or the avoidant attachment is more, I'm the best, they're not the best, but this will kind of work out. I'm not going to be as emotionally involved. So you have to really look at where their self worth is and what attachment style they have, because
Right.
that's going to dictate how and if they internalize what their partner is telling them, and if it's positive or negative. And if you have more of what's called a secure attachment, whether you earn it in adulthood or you were gifted it from childhood by having very secure parents and a positive experience, they don't take things personally, they don't take things negatively, and they have a typically positive outlook of themselves and other people. That's who you want to be in a partnership with. That's the ideal that we strive for. And so if I view myself positively and I'm not mean to myself, I'm not going to be as likely to misinterpret negatively what you're sharing. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to trust you, and I'm going to assume you were doing the best you could with what you had at the time. And you didn't answer my text because you didn't see it. I'm not going to go create 5 different narratives that you're cheating on me, that you're an asshole, that I don't have value to you, and blow up your phone and whatever else, because then the person's going to be like, this was a lot. I need space, which is going to activate the person who's anxious to be like, you always leave me when I need you the most. Like that's
Right.
where your
Right.
own inner work, you have to do it if you want to be in a positive relationship.
So I've been studying for the last year attachment styles. Anxious, some say they're five. I've been studying the three: the anxious, the avoidant, and the secure. What I found out though is a lot of people mask. They will mask their true nature, their true style,
Yeah.
and it'll come out
Mm-hmm.
when they're under duress, if you will.
Yes.
So, have you ever diagnosed someone with an attachment style, but found out later that that's not who you are at all. You hid who you were.
I would say I've noticed in some people I've treated, whether it's individual or couples, they have a belief that they are one when it's really another because there's a lack of education or understanding. They're not typically aiming to dupe themselves or another person. That would be more like a clinical diagnosis rather than more of like an attachment wound, if you will, because it's not technically a diagnosis we can give. It's usually a diagnosis people give themselves, typically anxious, and they come in and they're like, everything is, and I'm freaking, and I'm like, take a breath, please. I heard none of what you just said. Let's slow it way down. it's something that people can understand for themselves if they take proper assessments. There's actually many available online for free. Diane Poole Heller has a really good one, and she will explain to you what those each mean and how they look in your day-to-day relationships and your romantic relationship. And that's the key and the foundation to understanding how you will respond and react with your adult partner does relate to your met and unmet childhood needs, as well as how well you felt cared for by your primary caregivers, be it your parents, your grandparents. If you had a more of a family system raising you, what did they impart on you, and how secure do you feel to ask for what you need, and that people who love you will come back for you if they ever took space away from you physically. So there's like a really deep understanding of attachment that I help them to gain, and then they can apply that more positively and understand, oh, you mean my fear that they're abandoning me is driving me to text them 50 times, and all I really need to say is, I'm having a moment where I need reassurance. Is that something you could give to me right now? And typically the partner will be better able to say, no, but let me call you in an hour, and then follow through on that. And the 50 text messages go away, or the avoiding for multiple days goes away. If you find this early, though, in your dating pattern, this might not be the most popular answer. If you are anxious, do not date somebody avoidant if you can at all help it, because it's just going to wounds. Leave them and go find somebody secure. Eventually the dating pool will just be mostly secure, and that's the goal for every therapist, I think.
But here's the thing though, it's almost I don't know, counterintuitive sometimes when an anxious person almost they don't. You ever seen two anxious people together?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so like recently, I had a couple. One is anxious, and one is avoidant. And but the one who's avoidant, they don't think they're avoidant. They think they're secure. But of course, that's
Yeah.
always the case.
Yeah.
But getting them, I guess the hardest thing for me is getting them to admit, even when I've shown them, because I never say you are this.
Yeah.
I always say a great coach brings the student to the threshold of their own understanding. And if
Yeah.
I can show you that based on childhood, based on behavior, based on actions, this is what it looks like, and then they take ownership of it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get someone who is unwilling in the relationship, say you got two people willing to take ownership, it's them. It's them. They're the damn problem.
Yeah.
It's them. How do you handle that?
I usually push them lovingly but firmly that even if that is true, that they are the problem, what do you gain by being with somebody who's a problem? And then I sit quietly while they sit and noodle on it, and they're like, oh. And I'm like, so regardless of who's really the problem in this situation, you're both choosing to be together right now. And if you're not gaining from it and it's causing you more strife than it is joy, why would you be together?
Right.
And I ask more of those hard-hitting, like introspective questions, because it truly doesn't matter who is the problem. It's what behavior is getting in the way of them being connected. And that's what I focus on. So there's times where multiple weeks in a row, I'll side with one member of the couple versus the other, but it's not about the person. It's their behavior is winning the race, so to speak, towards being connected. And another person is stalemating, they're stalling. I don't want to do it. I don't this. And we pause and I meet with them one-on-one, and I'm like, what's really going on here? Is this a fear of intimacy in general? Or is it you deep down have made the decision you don't want to be with this person and you don't want to tell them because you don't want to hurt them? So
Right.
I have to be kind of on both sides always.
So you're doing a good cop, bad cop all in one.
Yes.
I
I
like
think
that.
most qualified clinicians could benefit from stepping into those roles. And there's a
Right.
lot that we get taught in grad school that personally I had to unlearn, that it's not accurate and it actually doesn't fit modern day relationships anymore.
Right.
And that's one
Right.
of the pitfalls. That's why I did so much extra training afterwards. Cause I'm like, this is not good enough. This is not going to help couples. I need more. Like I need to do more to help them more.
That's amazing. So I'm not gonna hold you all night, and this has been eye opening for me as well. And I'm going to contact you because I do want to do something
I would love
on my
that.
new program.
I would love
But tell the audience how they can contact you, how they can get in touch with you, because I found her on Instagram, y'all. And y'all know I don't really do a lot on Instagram. I just went viral twice on Instagram recently, and I was
Congratulations.
like, huh?
Congratulations. That's huge.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't even really. I just repurpose my content over there, but now I'm like over there now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my platform has been TikTok and Facebook, and now I'm really growing my Instagram and YouTube. So it's definitely cool. So tell the people how they can get in touch with you.
So my Instagram, if you see my name on here, just it's my full name, Talia Bombolla. That's the main platform that I'm on more interactively. I do a live podcast on there about once a week where we talk about dating and
I was
relationships.
on there the other day.
Yes,
Informative.
thank you very much. Yeah, so I pick different experts kind of like this and interview them. And then I have another podcast that's called the Couples Guide Podcast. So people who have specific, not very personal, but like specific pattern relationship questions. I said this, they said this. What could it mean? Or what does it mean when a guy does fill in the blank? And we answer those every other week. And then I also have my websites, which are all linked on my Instagram bio. And I do a weekly to twice weekly Q&A where people can message in whatever they want advice and feedback on, and I will give it to them straight because I can, and I don't know too much personal information about them, so I can give a general, this might be what it is. If this helps, great. If not, you can skip to the next story. So I try and
And she
give back.
don't cuss like me, y'all. I mean, so I might be like, don't say
I
that
do
shit. That's
sometimes. I do sometimes, but mostly in session. I think because I used to primarily see teenagers in my practice. I still do now. I try and keep in mind that I don't want to like taint their minds to what adulthood's already going to be for them eventually. So I have an image to maintain.
yeah, yes. I appreciate you for coming on
Absolutely.
because you've offered some insightful information, and I wrote down, I took some notes here too myself. So I'm always about learning. Thank you so much. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it, and I am going to reach out to you because I think you're going to be good for what I want to do, and I think a lot of people will benefit from it and grow from it. So thank you
Absolutely.
so much for
Thank you.
joining me tonight. And we're gonna stay in touch, y'all. And if
Yeah,
you need and anybody here, you want to reach out to her. Listen, she's super smart and super down to earth too. So,
yeah.
all right.
I would love to
Thank you
help.
so much. We will talk soon. All
Thank
right.
you.
All right. All right, y'all. Listen, I mean, she knows what she's talking about. And so, like for real, if you know that you need help, um, I am an advocate for therapy, for coaching, counseling, whatever works for you. I think that you need to stop it, y'all. If you want to book a session with me, a discovery session, and let's get to the root of why things are the way they are. Um, if you want to reach out to her or anybody, but at the end of the day, y'all, remember this. Um, I think, but I truly think you cannot profit from something you haven't invested in. Yeah, and you got to and really to invest in yourself. So I'm going to continue to bring on people. I think next week though I'm gonna do a face off because people been talking shit to me, y'all. Because they, all my videos, like I got like 350,000 followers now, right? All my platforms. So so what I said was I'm going to do a segment called Face Off, where anybody who wants to debate me, if you want to debate me in a respectful way or anything that I say, I'm willing to debate you. So I was supposed to have a guy on tonight, but I forgot that Talia was supposed to be on. So he had the courage. He said he wanted to come on with his statistics and stuff. And so I was gonna do it, but I think I'm gonna do it next week if he still wants to. Um, Look, y'all. I mean, I'm just gonna do it. If you know somebody don't agree with me, I don't really care. Because at the end of the day, I'm not about a popularity contest. I just want to help people grow. Period. That's it. Period. And that's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do. All right, y'all. That's my time. That is my time. You said you're working on saving for a discovery session. Listen, I truly believe it is an investment. I get it, but you're worth the investment. Each one of you, you're worth it. So that's what I want. All right, y'all. Thank you, Sonya. I appreciate you. Y'all listen, y'all have a great evening. I'm Coach Ken, aka the Doctor, and I am out. Remember, every journey starts with one step. Take yours today. Peace.